finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my lambs." A second time he said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Tend my sheep." He said to him a third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter felt hurt because he said to him the third time, "Do you love me?" And he said to him, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep. Very truly I tell you, when you were younger, you used to fasten your own belt and go to wherever you wished. But when you grow old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will fasten the belt around you and take you where you do not wish to go." He said this to indicate the kind of death by which he would glorify God. After this, he said to him, "Follow me." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
I researched this gospel reading and started off with the thoughts about Peter's redemption because it's right there, it's pretty obvious. Recall that a few weeks before this time, before the crucifixion and such, Peter was boasting that he loved Jesus more than anyone else, and Jesus took him down a few notches by telling him that he would deny that he even knew him 3 times before the cock crowed. And that's a pretty important part of the whole passion of Christ, so we all remember that. And so that's a pretty obvious thing in the reading, but I went a little bit different direction with this one because there's some other elements in here that I think are pretty interesting. Today, Peter gets a chance to say that he loves Jesus, and he says it 3 times, and it's reasonable that this event offsets the 3 denials that happened just a few weeks before. And that is all true, and another thing to consider here is if one reads the entire chapter 21 of John, which is the parts before this reading, they'll read about how a group of Christ's disciples were together, including Simon Peter, and it appears they're not really sure what they should be doing. And Peter simply says, "Well, I'm going to go out to fish." The group then follows him, and they fish, and they catch nothing. As the sun rises in the dawn, they see a figure on the shore. They're a few hundred yards offshore, and they see a figure that calls out to them and asks them how they're doing. And of course, they call back and say, "We've caught nothing." The figure on the shore tells them, "Cast your nets on the other side of the boat." They do that and they catch fish. And at that point, Simon Peter realizes the figure on the shore is the resurrected Jesus. So he jumps from the boat, swims to shore, and meets Jesus on the shore. Now Jesus has a fire burning and is cooking fish, and that is the breakfast that opens the reading that we have this morning. When they had finished breakfast was the first line in our gospel reading this morning. So that gives you some background into what happened before this morning's reading. So, I lost my place in my notes. So Jesus has a small fire and is cooking some fish when Simon arrives, and then today's reading takes over. In Matthew chapter 16, Jesus told Simon Peter, "I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." Now this is much earlier in the Gospels, but Peter was always selected to be the one that would be the leader of the church after Jesus fulfilled the prophecy. So so that was done, the passion took place, and Jesus rose from the dead. And now, after the death and resurrection, Peter is perhaps uncertain what to do. He's still processing the events of the last few weeks because a whole lot of things happened. And he may be struggling with the guilt of the denial of Jesus. And instead of engaging in the activities needed for the early church, he chose to go fishing. This is not a stretch. Simon Peter was a fisherman when Jesus first met him and recruited him to follow him. Recall the "I will make you fishers of men speech that Jesus gave to him and others. And it's reasonable to believe that Peter chose to fish because it's what he knows. It's what he knows how to do and what he was good at before Jesus came into his life. So he just faced this tremendous change, and he went back to something he was comfortable with. Jesus appearing this early morning along the Sea of Galilee is remedying a few things. It gives Simon Peter the opportunity to state his love for Jesus 3 times and offsetting the 3 denials. Jesus is also offering the cooked fish over the fire to Peter, which is showing that the Lord will provide if Peter follows the direction he's supposed to go. Finally, the Lord is reminding Peter of his role in the church at this point after the resurrection. Tend my lambs, take care of my sheep, and feed my sheep. Peter had to be certain of his role after this meeting, that he was to lead the church and not fish. We see here a tremendous demonstration of Jesus' love for Peter, the same love that Jesus provides to all of us. Peter denied Jesus and was troubled by that and was uncertain of his worthiness to take on his task of leading the fledgling church. We can consider the confusion and humility he had after that denial and the tremendous events of the last few weeks. His response was to go with what he knows. He returns to that fishing boat. He retreats to the safety of the activity that he has done for his whole life. He also takes the group with him. He does not ask them, but they follow him because he is their leader. Again, this is not an unusual response to stress. You may recall times in your life when you were uncertain or scared about what comes next, and you have chosen to revert to the safety to do the old activities to return some comfort to your state of being. As human beings, we are not meant to be completely comfortable. We are not meant to be static, to be the same person next month that we are today. Jesus reminds us here with Peter. He lets Peter fish for the night unsuccessfully, and then shows him that a path that Jesus and the church will provide for him, and sets Peter up to recover from his low confidence and grow the early church. In this reading, Jesus talks about Peter fastening his own cloak and going about his own direction in his youth. Jesus then informs Peter that as he gets older, his obligations to lead others, and he will have to go places he must go, not just places that he wants to go. The passage reads, "Very truly I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go." Jesus is telling his star pupil about maturity. The church must be led, and the leader must look at paths that are uncomfortable, and in this case, dangerous. But that is what must be done. Peter will have to deal with the issues and hardships that he does not choose, rather they are imposed upon him. Peter's example is extreme. Leading the church is a really big deal. However, the same process is seen in our own lives. Each of us has likely found ourselves in a situation where we did not choose to be, and were led where we did not want to go. But we had to work through it and make the best of it. This gospel reading tells us to be mindful of what we are doing. Are we retreating to the comfort and safety of what we know? Are we taking action on things? Are we listening to be led by the Spirit to places we do not want to go, but places where we need to be? How much are we looking to grow through experiencing that change? This is not a rebuke of routine or tradition. It's important to have structure and predictability in our lives and in society. It is not a guilt trip on engaging in leisure or recreational activities. It's important that we do things that bring joy and peace to our lives. It is also not a giant call to action to send us all charging out of the doors to change the world with tremendous evangelical fervor. What I'm asking is that we take time to consider how we live our lives, how we react to our lives. Are we dealing with the things we should deal with, or are we going fishing?